Welcome to Introduction to Business offered online. My name is Dr. George Mochocki. This week is going to be a short clip on, we'll be talking on Chapter 2, Economics. Now remember, in this Introduction to Business, each chapter are full courses within business. I'm just going to give you a quick overview of economics. We're going to talk about economics in general. So and I'll be using MindMap. So remember, this class is in conjunction with a Blackboard course that I'm teaching. So go into your Blackboard, go into concept / Mind Maps Dr. George, and you'll find this week's mind map. So you're going to look, and you're always going to have the mind map on a second tier. So when you print out the publisher's PowerPoints, and you print out my PowerPoints, and you print out my mind map, you just add out notes, and this is just another way of seeing the information. Okay, so you're going to look at economics. We're going to talk about macro and micro. Remember, after you read the chapter, make sure you know the difference between macro and micro. You'll see that again. Anything in yellow has a good indicator. You may see it on an exam. So macro is the large picture, micro is the small picture. When you look at economics and business is all resources that I as a business have. You'll look at, they'll talk about the factors of production, land, knowledge, equipment, people, resources. All that is what is under my control as a business owner or a manager within business. Okay, so that takes care of economics. Make sure you know the difference between Thomas Mathis and, let me move this over here a little bit. Thomas Mathis and Adam Smith. Thomas Mathis is a dismal science. He basically said, and if you look at this more of the communist societies or type of platforms, for lack of better words, he looked at that there's only so much resources in one's country. And since I can't utilize all the resources because there's a limited amount of resources that are not renewable, I basically, the only thing I can control is the population size. So I control how many people. So I look at my population. That's why if you look like China has only one child per family because there's 1 billion Chinese, and it'd be hard for their own country to sustain their own population. But now that China is in the global economy, it doesn't have to realize it on everything on its own borders, but it has everyone else's borders. So understand that. So that's the dismal science. Now the other one is Adam Smith. Adam Smith, make sure you understand the invisible hand. The invisible hand, in a real quick nutshell, is basically I, as a business owner, am good at what am I doing. And since I'm good at what am I doing, is I am growing. As I grow, I hire more people. Because I hire more people, they get I pay them. So they could either buy in my organization or they could buy in another company. The thing to remember about the free market enterprise to work is that the taxes aren't too high. I've got rules and regulations, and I, as an individual, are allowed to keep the profits. If you look at a communist country, they basically give everything back to the society. What you'll find out of this chapter, there's no pure, except for North Korea, communist country. There's no pure socialist country. There's no pure capitalist country. We're a mixture. If you look at the United States, we're going a little bit more of a socialist. Now, socialists, what do you call it, economy, it basically still has gives you some profitability that you can control some of the profits for what you're making, but they tax you more. So to give back to the society as a whole. Okay, so make sure you know this, what the invisible hand, and then Adam Smith, your resources, the green revolution, everything. Most companies now, because of economics and everything else, is sustainable and renewable energy. So that's the way. Capitalism is the way we're looking at it. Roosevelt, freedom of speech, freedom to worship, freedom of want, fear. So if I'm looking at this capitalism, 4 basic rights. For the capitalistic system to work, I have to have the right to own private property, so I can own my own business, own my business, and keep keep my profits. Remember, socialist country, they let you keep the profits, but you're taxed higher. Okay, I think our taxes here in the U.S. as it is now is about 30%. So for every dollar I make, I have to give 30% or 30 cents back to the government, which does for the basic services, education, everything else that helps the economy or the environment as a whole, or the society as a whole. Okay, so it has the four basic: freedom of competition and freedom of choice. I don't have those in the capitalistic system, doesn't work. And price, general information. Okay, you have to know the difference between supply curve and demand curve. Supply curve is from business. I make more as prices go up. As long as everything else is consistent, if I could charge for more for my product, I will make more product. Now, on the demand curve is from a consumer value. If the prices go up and if I have substitute goods, I will buy something else. So what you're really looking at, if the price is too high, I don't buy that prices anymore. And supply curve. So if I look at the supply curve and the demand curve, when you read the chapter, it'll make a little bit more sense. Remember, I'm giving you a quick overview to stay under 15 minutes, like a quick mini lecture, so you know what to focus on. You're looking at the equilibrium price. The equilibrium price is what I, as a business owner, am willing to charge for my product and still make a profit, and I, as a consumer, are willing to pay for a product. When those two intersect, that's what we call what we basically call is the equilibrium price. Okay, and the book has a good chart, what do you call it? A good graph that shows you the intersection. We call it the equilibrium price or the market price. The best thing, if you really look at it, if you go to a flea market. If you go to a flea market, then you want 50 cents for some little item. You go, hey, that's junk. I'll give you 10 cents. And you're negotiating until there's a price that the person who's selling the good wants to make some profit for what he or she paid for in a profit, and there's only what you want to pay for the good. So when you find that price that you agree on in a free competitive market, is called the equilibrium price. Benefits of free market: allows competition, provides opportunity for poor people to work. Limitation of a free market: remember, environmental damage. If I'm really only looking just for the bottom dollar, and most companies are very more socially responsible, I'm gonna just looking for the bottom dollar. I will hurt the environment. But most businesses are changing. That's because of rules and regulations that's been imposed in business by the government. Okay, so it has something. Okay, socialism. That's another way. I'm not going to get into too much. Is basically how to reduce inequity. We just raise the tax. If you look like a France, they have a lot of benefits: vacation, free healthcare, free everything else. But they basically pay maybe 70 cents, 70% on every dollar equivalent to the franc that they make goes to the government. So 30 cents I keep, and 70 cents goes back to the constituents of the rest of the populations for that. After a while, we can find that 70% is pretty good. So you get a lot of socialist people who have money leave what they call brain drain, leave the socialist country and come to like the capitalist country where I'd be better off. I'd rather pay 30 cents than 70 cents to the government, and I get to keep 70% instead of keeping 30%, vice versa. Okay, so that's socialism. And remember, and now the benefits of socialism, and you have equality, free health care. But if you look at what's happening with France and some of the socialist countries, is they're no longer very competitive within the global market, because all these charges and everything else that we're giving back to society is passed on to the consumer, or if I'm selling it globally, passed on to the what do you call it, to the global customer. And that's when we talked about brain dread. Make sure we brain drain, not dead, brain drain. Make sure. Now, communist country, everything else works the same, but they give everything back to the organization. So in a communist country, if I want to make white shirts, I have to go to the Communist Party and get approval. In a capitalist country, as long how the equilibrium price works, if I'm charging too high, customers aren't going to buy it, so I'm going to be out of business. If I'm charging too low, I'm not making a profit, I'm going to be out of business. So this equation right here, the price that we both agree on, is basically what cleans and keeps the capitalistic system going forward. Where the communist system, they have all kind of they have all kind of mathematical formulas, for lack of better words, of what product it is. So you may say so many white shirts, but the consumers may not want any white shirts or whatever, or you might want pink shirts, you want other shirts. There's no mechanism in there except what the party or the command society or the government decides what people should be buying. So what you're looking at the communist system right now is they're becoming more capitalistic. They have free market zones within China, not all China, but because they're working in the global market. So you can see that they're leaning more to capitalism and socialism. So they're reviewing that process. Two major economic systems: command societies, which would be communism, and free market and socialist societies. Most of us are mixed, all societies except for North Korea. Even Cuba is going more, used to be strictly communist, is going more of a, what do you call it, capitalist type of society in utilizing the free market. The government cannot sustain everything else. You have to have people come up with innovation, new ideas, but they're not going to come up with those ideas as long as only when they have the ideas or the ability to keep some of the profit. Okay, you have the domestic, gross domestic product, and it's an indicator. So make sure you look at that. You have the employment rate. Remember, the employment rate is different types of employment. I'm not going to ask you too much about the employment rate, but it's an economic indicator. A lot of times, employment is always lagging. When you look at it within economics. What's going to happen with economics? It's lagging because if I think there's high employment, people don't have money, so I'm not expanding. Once the business economy is picking up, I'm slowly, as a business owner, being very cautious. So I'm not hiring people as much as I can until I feel comfortable there's enough people to buy my product, okay? If you look at the price indexes, now the price indexes basically is economic indicator. It's another way of evaluating what my inflation rate is, so that they did a good job. Business cycles, remember, you have recession, depression, recovery. Businesses, just like economies, go through a certain cycle. We have a growth, we have a maturity, we have a decline. Economies go through the same thing. We went through for lack of better words, I think we're at a depression, we went through a recession, and we're now going to a recovery. Depends on economic indicators that they're looking at. Okay, U.S. government. If I look at U.S. government, you got the national deficit, the national debt. Right now, our debt is pretty high, but we still, for every dollar, we still have 20% left, which is not very much. We should have like 50-60% left for every dollar of taxes we pay in. Okay, so if I'm looking at economics, strictly economics, you have two types of indicators or tools that the government uses. You use monetary, and we'll get that is with the Federal Reserve or the banking system, or you have fiscal. Fiscal is what the government could do now. By taxes, they either increase taxes by taking money out of the economy or decrease taxes by putting money back in the economy. And what happens if taxes go up, it's taking money out of the economy because I got to pay more into the taxes, so I have less disposable income to spend. If I want to increase the economy, and what you're seeing is that taxes should be low because now the taxes are lower, I have more money to spend. So the tools they have: taxation, government spending. If I want to improve the economy, I reduce my government spending. You see our government spending is not being reduced at all. We're going to have another fiscal cliff. We have another raise of the debt ceiling. So we're not spending. We're slowing it down, but we're not there. So we have a lot of work to do. Eventually, what's going to happen if we're raising, bringing money in, and we're our output is less than what we're bringing in, that's when we're going to start having a depression or recession again, and certain things what you see just happening going out. Now the monetary policy, I'm not going to talk, is the Federal Reserve. Just understand it's interest rates and it's the buying what do you call it, securities online. Okay, so that takes care of Chapter 2, Economics and Introduction to Business. This is a quick overview. You'll be utilizing the PowerPoint. Remember, you have Connect, McGraw-Hill Connect. It's the interactive software, or McGraw-Hill LearnSmart, that I'm utilizing with this thing. This is just a quick overview. Everything in the yellow that you see is important. You can see in the quizzes or in your final exam. All right, so my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and this is Introduction to Business, Chapter 2, Economics, and we'll see you on the next quick mini things will be Chapter 3. Okay, bye-bye.